This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monte Mohr with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and I'm Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
Yes, and you can follow along and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got questions for us? Ask away at questions@talkmusiccity.com. That's questions at talkmusiccity.com.
Monty.
Carey Ann, am I excited to be here today?
Hey, this is a good day.
Man, we've got a great event here that we're about to share, and I'm looking so forward to it. One of my absolute favorite people on the planet is that man sitting next to you, Mr.
Yes.
Tom Henry,
Welcome.
the founder of Feed America First. Tom, thank you for being here today.
I'm delighted to be here. I love these opportunities. I get to tell stories that I like to people that I like, so it's a good day for me too.
We are blessed, and you have a very important person in your life right now, Mr. John Sullivan. John, thank you for being here, sir.
Hey, thanks, Monty. It's good to be here. I've really looked forward to spending some time and talking about something I care deeply about.
Yes.
I know you do. You know, a couple of weeks ago, as you remember, you came into our office and sat down with Connie and I, and anyway, it
gets them worked up.
It taps that heart.
It does. Especially this season, giving back. It's tis the season to give, and I think you were on one of our first or second radio shows that Monty and I did many years ago. And to learn all things about Feed America First is something really special. And for those that don't know, you're gonna learn something really great today, and your heart's gonna be open, and you're gonna get choked up as much as Monty does, because you've created just an amazing organization that just makes a difference for so many each and every day.
Well, that's certainly our intention. When back in 2000, in my corporate job, I was looking for something that where I could make a bigger difference. I could be more significant. And being in the restaurant business, I was fully aware of how food goes around the country and how people buy and consume food. But I started taking a look at hunger, and I was just appalled that in a country that is so rich, that 40% of the food that we produce ends up in a landfill, yet 15% of the population is hungry. And how could that be? And so it seemed like an opportunity for me to use my business experience to kind of connect those dots, that there had to be a way to take this glut of wholesome food that had already been manufactured, and give it to somebody that could use it before it went bad. So that was the intent. I also saw that of the hunger relief being addressed in the United States at that time, more than 55% of it was in the metropolitan areas where you have a high density of people in need. But that left all the rural areas where it's harder to get to them, but the need is just as dramatic. So I felt like somebody needed to address that, and that somebody needed to be me.
And you made it happen.
Well,
you started with a pickup, right?
I started with a pickup at a day-old bread store, but
But look what you've done over how many years now?
22
years.
Well, it's been a whole lot more than me. This has been a work of faith. I felt called to do it. I've been ill-equipped to handle the things that we needed to do, but I always found people that had the answers. I've found ways to do things far beyond anything I could have ever imagined. In fact, I'm just kind of holding on for the ride. That I've always said that if there's any limits to Feed America First, it doesn't need to be my imagination. I don't want to be the cork in the bottle. So we invite people. We always look for ways to get better. And that's what brings us to this significant opportunity, that we've been so blessed and so overwhelmed with food and the need to feed hungry people. But we're coming off our 2 best years ever in terms of the amount of food that we've had to process, and we've been overwhelmed with it. And the unfortunate reality to it is that the need is going up, and right now, more than 60%, closer to 80% of the food that we're getting is perishable. It's got to be handled very quickly. It has to get out quickly, and we don't have the facilities to do it.
And it's the good food. It's the foods we want to feed people, right? That's why there's such a need.
So, Tom, just to catch up with people that may not be familiar with Feed America First, you went from the pickup and the day-old bread and I'm sure you were being a blessing to those that you were touching, but now how many families are fed because of Feed America First on a monthly basis, roughly?
Our best guess is around 40,000 families a month.
40,000.
We do that.
Wow.
We do that by providing food to over 250 small organizations, ministries, children's homes, shelters. So they do the actual handing out the boxes of food. Our job is to equip them to do that. So we have a small staff, a staff of 10, and we impact these 250 ministries every single month by giving them food to give away.
You know, Tom, I think one of the first things that spoke to me the first time that Connie and I went to one of the dancing of the Nashville Stars was you get a little skeptical in today's world, and I'm sorry, I'm guilty of that because, people have their hands out and so forth, and you're torn. Are they real? Are they playing games? Are they playing the system or whatever? And to find out what kind of net of a dollar, is it something like 97 cents of every dollar, something like that? It's 96.
A little better than 98%.
98%.
98 cents on a dollar actually goes to the mission.
Goes to the mission.
That less than 2% goes to administrative and fundraising.
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
I've never heard of that before. That's incredible.
Well, that's changed some of our outlooks on certain charities.
Yeah,
when you start to see what where the money is going. So that's amazing. It's going back to the mission. I love that.
Well, and that's a 20 plus year average. It's not like we're new to that. We've always been a very lean organization, and we've always leveraged volunteers and everything we could possibly do to make it more cost effective to distribute this food. But we're very proud of the fact that we take good care of a dollar.
Yeah, and creatively raise money for those that do not remember. This one over here did a little disco number.
Yeah,
John Travolta.
I haven't danced since, and I understand you haven't danced since your big debut.
Hey,
I'm afraid we broke both of you.
My buns are still a rolling, let me tell you. But I was telling him a little bit earlier, that was the hardest thing I've ever challenged myself to do, and it was such a rewarding time because you're challenging yourself to this experience, but also knowing that by doing this experience, you're raising amazing dollars for an amazing cause. So I can't wait.
Who don't know, this is Dancing with the Nashville Stars is patterned after the ABC show Dancing with the Stars, and so each of these two people had to train with a dance professional for a couple of months and then tell all their friends that they needed to come see it and pay for that privilege.
Right.
And so we gathered at the factory and on their respective years and just had a wonderful party, and both of them worked so hard to they put their all into it, and we were enormously blessed by the whole thing.
Yeah, it was a great show. The memories are just recently popping up from so many years ago. So
Tom,
love it.
Refresh my memory. How many people does $100 feed with Feed America First?
Well, that would be 1,000 to 1,500 meals.
1,000 to
Listen to that.
1,500
Wow.
meals. I never forget one time at a BNI meeting, getting up and sharing to all these business people that look, every $100 feeds over 1,000 people. And a man afterwards handed me $100 bill, and he goes, "Man, that feels so good. I just fed 1,000 people." I mean, it was so visual, and it was so real. It was so compassionate. Well, John, we invited you here because you came in again. I honestly did get choked up because when I think about Tom and his commitment and the things that are done, the people that are touched, it does choke me up in all sincerity. Yeah. But you came in and you painted a picture of a situation that's coming. That's what this sharing today is about. Is to really clarify how we can fulfill a need that is huge. And can you share with us on that? Who are you and why are you here? And
sure, I'm delighted to be here. I am. Let me tell you about the guy in this seat right here.
Yes.
I am. My heart is just with Feed America First right now, and some things I didn't share with you before. I want to tell you now. I'm also a rural boy. I grew up in Fairview, and my generosity story started when I was 5 years old. We didn't have much, and we were at that time living off of triple coupon boxed potatoes. Okay, winter was coming, we didn't have much, and we knew things were going to be very lean. My mom and dad had a part of their life that they made sure that they stuck to, and that was when things were lean, they increased their Sunday contribution. Okay, so at church, when things were lean, they gave a little more. And that's just so counterintuitive. Who does that? When things are lean, you buckle down and you save. But they had made this kind of vow with each other. And so this particular time when I was 5 years old, they buckled down and said, this year, or this Sunday, $5 more in the church collection plate. Now, this is rural church, small church. And so they did their part. When we got home, our basement had been broken into. Someone had gotten through the passage door, and we were all very nervous, scared, maybe somebody was in the house. Dad went inside and checked everything out to make sure we were safe. And when we walked in, Dad was crying. What's going on? What happened? He opened the deep freeze. And that morning while we were at church, someone had put an entire pig processed fully in our deep freeze. Wow. We had pork chops, sausage, bacon, pork roasts. We got to eat all winter because someone had been very generous to us.
Amazing.
That story sits with me today, and it's the reason I am generous to others. And we found that a local farmer knew of our situation, wanted to make sure that we had food for the winter. So the guy that sits in the chair right here beside you grew up in need of a place like Feed America First. Well, now as I'm nearly 40 and as I am working professionally with organizations in their fundraising and helping them clarify their mission to others and share their story, I came across Feed America First, and it resonated with my roots. They are feeding people who are hungry in rural areas that do not have sustenance for themselves. I was appalled. I was appalled at the comorbid problem that we have in this world, and that is food is going to waste in landfills, lots of food, millions of pounds of food. At the same time, people are hungry and don't know where their meal's coming from. And so when I encountered Tom and Feed America First and jumped on their team, I became eminently aware of how this message needed to be shared just so broadly. People need to know that there is a solution to the problem of scarcity, of hunger, of our landfills overflowing with food, and that solution is Feed America First. And so I'm not the smartest guy in the room, especially in this group here, but I can tell you more than anything, I'm touched by the work that's being done at Feed America First.
Oh, amazing work. And I think today we're speaking of a very special need, right? Because you speak of all the perishables, all the really good food, the substance that we want to feed so many, need a place to be stored. Right? Need some place to go, because if not, then you're actually having to throw that out, which is such a waste, because it can go to so many folks in need. So share more about that special need that you're looking for. What are you aiming to gain here soon?
The project that we're outlining is to build an 8,400 square foot cooler freezer that's 24 feet tall, and it'll hold the equivalent of 20 tractor trailer loads of cold food.
Amazing, yeah.
We have not had access to that much refrigerated storage over the last years, and we get a lot of the food right now. 60 to 80% of the food we get is perishable, and we need to turn it very quickly. We've been able to do that successfully by sending a lot of it out of state, but that's food that could stay right here within our footprint, within 250 miles of Murfreesboro. And if we had the capacity, then the people within our footprint could benefit from that, because it's the most nutritious stuff you can get. It's the dairy, and it's the produce, and it's the prepared meals and meats, and this is all stuff it's not close to the sell-by date. Generally, when manufacturers, distributors offer this to us, it's straight off the line. They just know they're not going to be able to sell it, and so they'd rather give it away than throw it away.
So, Tom, just to make sure that people understand where the food is coming from, you've alluded to it, but so this is coming from manufacturers, it's coming from farmers. Tell us where the majority of the food comes from.
The majority comes from food distributors, from grocery companies, from chains. It's not from grocery stores. It's from the people who supply the grocery stores.
Okay.
So it's always grade A quality, still within its sell-by date. So it's wholesome food by every stretch of the imagination.
John, when you shared with us the other day, my first response was, that is criminal. That shouldn't be. Can you share that story again?
Absolutely. In getting to know Tom and his team early on, Mike Womack and some of his board, we're sitting in a meeting talking about our fundraising strategy. We're going to make sure that this need is taken care of. In the middle of that meeting, their executive director at the time just said, let me tell you what's at stake here. I said, so what happens when we raise this money? What happens? What changes for this organization? He said, well, you don't have to take my words for it. Let me pull up an email that I just received a day or two ago. It was from an executive at Tyson's Food, and it was, we have imminent need for someone to come pick up millions of pounds of chicken legs, chicken thighs, the product that's not selling as quickly in the grocery stores right now. Of course, breast meat and wings are very popular right now. We all love chicken wings, but they're not selling the chicken legs and thighs as quickly. And so the need was simple. They reached out to Feed America First and said, if you can have trailers here that are cooled and chilled, take our product, our raw product, back to your location, package it, clean it, and have it done, it's yours. Oh, and by the way, it'll be ready next month and the following month and the following month. We're talking about millions of pounds of protein that will be distributed to the rural areas in Tennessee. And at this moment, Tom, I don't think I'm mistaken, you're not equipped to be able to take loads like that. But in the future, the goal is to be able to respond to that need, to be able to say, we're first in line. Feed America First already is a partner to Tyson Foods or Purdue or some of these other major food sources, to be able to say, yeah, we're ready. We're sending trucks. They're on the way. And then we're going to make sure it gets in the hands of hungry people.
So, Tom, to make sure I understand things, right? I'm a simple guy. So you have the food is available.
Yes, in abundance.
The transportation is available. You have the trucks. You have the help that can drive the trucks.
Yes, we have 4 refrigerated trucks, and we have an independent trucker that helps us with our bigger loads, and we have access to all the trucks we need.
Okay, so we just need a place to put it,
right?
That can keep it
refrigerated.
We've solved the transportation problem on the scale that we operate on, and it's the logistical problem is, where are we going to hold this cold food while we give it away?
Right.
Well, and to think your percentage of what is kept for administration is so small, there's not like a lot of funds sitting to the side to create.
Like most nonprofits, there's not a lot of funds sitting on the side.
Exactly. And so that's why we're coming out and just continuing to share the word. I mean, tis the season to give, right?
Yes.
And it should be within our hearts. Many of us have our own stories, of the past, and we're blessed. God put us in a great position today to continue to give and do amazing things, for others. And so I love many more people who do not know about Feed America First. This is your time to really learn about it, to know that this is local. This is, like you say, and on our current footprint here within Middle Tennessee on the rural side. I think that is really making a difference for so many, especially as we navigate into, our winter seasons, and many people are known to eat plentiful all throughout, and then there's others. We just do that so naturally, and to know that we can help even more by working so hard towards this new project and assisting with Feed America First, and working hard towards that refrigeration.
One of the hardest realities that I had when I first became known of Feed America First was there are people right now, thousands of them, trying to make a decision. Do I buy medication? Do I pay the rent? Or do I buy food? Because there's not enough money for everything. I think that's why there's, you said again, 40,000 families a month that you're touching with this.
Yes. And that number will go up as our capacity increases.
Right.
Well,
it's not like that's the cap. That's just what we can handle.
Well, the other part of that is we live in a very weird world right now where, I don't see the need for food changing any other than going up with, all the different challenges our country is realizing right now. So that's why I think that's why I put in my heart, we need to get this word out as quickly as possible. It's criminal to think that much chicken is available to be fed to thousands of people and not provide that ability to hold it, since we've got everything else in place.
And this story is a story of one. We can talk about this problem on scale. Tractor trailer loads, millions of pounds of food, 40,000 families needing this food. But let's boil it down to the one. I was the 5-year-old kid that needed this. Okay. Yeah. And there are these children, and there are these single moms, there are these single parents, there's the grandmother rearing and raising her grandchildren all across our state and this region, that this is their lifeline. And so I love talking about 40,000 people who will be impacted by this. But more than that, let's just think about the one. The one hungry person who will eat Thanksgiving, who will eat Christmas meal, who will have food provided to them simply because of the great work that Tom and his team is doing at Feed America First.
The number, I've heard that there were thousands of kids that didn't get fed because they didn't go to school because of the pandemic situation where schools were shut down and so forth. That must have just been...
It was heartbreaking. The backpack programs that go on in schools where kids are taking food home on the weekend, that all dried up. That was done. So many kids were depending on schools to provide the food through the summer. That was off the table. So it got very urgent. And in God's greater plan, He provided more food.
Yeah.
We had more food and better food than we'd ever had. And there's a practical reason for it. I mean, all the California produce fields came time to harvest at the same time, right as all the schools and all the restaurants closed, and the government stepped in, bought that up, and used food banks like ours to help push that out to the families in need. So we were positioned well to do that. We could have handled a lot more if we'd had the cooler space to do it, but we had food. We had food to feed those families for those kids that didn't get their meals at school like they had been.
And talk about God's ultimate plan. I work with a lot of nonprofits across this country, and the 2019-2021 time period was a time where a lot of organizations struggled. You know, they were lean in trying to make a difference. Look at the difference of our world during that time and how it benefited Feed America First. They are positioned right now and primed to do more because during that period of time, they just learned scale. They learned how to grow their operations. They learned how to put food in more people's hands. And so, you know, when Tom and I talked early on, is this the right time? Are we choosing the right time to do this? Absolutely, because they are prepared. We have a world who is prepared for this kind of need. And I'm a believer in people. I think people are just good and will hear this message and say, you know, I can do something about this. I care about hunger.
Yeah.
I care about children. And I care that this food that's nutritious doesn't end up in a landfill somewhere.
John, how do people who are hearing this message and speaking to their heart, how can they give?
We need a lot of people to step up in a number of ways. If you are someone who is generous by nature, we want you to look in yourself to do some research about Feed America First. You can get online, pull their 990, look at their stewardship of funds, their financial controls. There's no indebtedness in this organization. They are a trustworthy organization. I look to those people and say, this is an easy give. You know, do some research and then make a gift. We're also looking for creative and innovative donors. You know, philanthropy is a growing idea and a growing thing in our country, and we're looking for people who want to think creatively, just like you're doing, helping us get the word out and using your influence to share about the mission happening at Feed America First. We're also looking for leadership givers, people who will say, you know, we have some ability, we have some capacity, and we care during this season that hunger stops, that just like Feed America First's, their motto is, you know, we want to live in a world where no one goes hungry. Okay, no one in our neighborhood will be going hungry. We're looking for 5 to 10 partners who will come forward with a significant major gift and say, not only do we believe in this organization, but we want you to use our gift to motivate others. And so matching gifts to be a part of this campaign, to step forward and say, here's a $25,000 gift. It's yours if you can get it matched by the end of December 31st. Man, Tom, I would love doing that. Somebody to come forward. Wouldn't that be exciting? Someone to say, here is a significant gift. See if this will motivate others to give as well. We're looking for anyone to be generous, because generosity is born out of a story where we learned that we did not create generosity, but we are responding to an ultimate grace and an ultimate generosity that was shown to us first. We are reacting. We're not creating anything new.
Powerful.
Wow, that's all I can say. So, thank you guys. Thank you for sharing the vision. Thank you for sharing the need, and thank you for the opportunity. Again, is to go to feedamericafirst.com. Is that how we can get connected, Tom?
That's the best way. Yes.
Okay.
And you can donate right there, you said.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so I challenge everybody in the season of giving to definitely do what I'm going to do, which is go to feedamericafirst.com and give. Because again, something so small can make such a big, big difference. We're grateful that you were with us today. Thank you so much for being here. And we can't wait to have you come back. You've been listening to The Talk of Music City Real Estate.